Get the colors! Get the colors!
Alright you guys, so I'm back with another adventure today. I've been out here working with the Cotton State campaigners with Jack and Graham. And then I'm going to take some time and just ask Graham a couple questions and what he thinks about being in the reenactment world and what he's looking forward to with the 160 coming up in September of the Battle of Chickamauga. So when did you exactly get into reenacting?
I got into the hobby about mid-90s. Gettysburg was one of my main things. The interesting thing is I actually watched the movie backwards.
Oh.
I watched tape 2, then went to tape 1, then I watched tape 1, then I went to tape 2.
Oh, so yeah. What was your first reenactment that you went to?
Oh, that was early 90s. I went to Battle of Bull Run for the 130s.
Oh wow. Are you looking forward to the 160 at Chickamauga coming back?
Oh, I am. I mean, it's going to be good to have good, strong numbers. Hunter Poitras is overall Confederate command. And right now we're trying to get the numbers up. We got other ones planned. We got Gettysburg, we got Receding Tide. Then next year we got Franklin, we got something brewing in East Tennessee. We got...
Now, when you said Gettysburg, are you going to the... I noticed that they were going to have 2 reenactments in Gettysburg. Which one are you going to? Is it the one at the Daniel Lady Farm or the other one?
I'm going to the other one. I have good friends that run the Daniel Lady Farm, but the other spectacle, what I call events, I don't call them reenactments anymore, because reenactments you see everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty horrendous. So, but the spectacle done with Dustin is going to be a good one. Right now we got, the Western Alliance has 4 to 5 companies, and one company alone has probably, I'm guessing 45, 50 rifles already, and they just started on Monday.
Oh wow. So what unit are you looking at portraying in that battle?
Overall, we're going to be doing the 12th South Carolina, the 11th Mississippi, and a couple other private units.
Oh, it's crazy that you said the South Carolina. That's actually a unit that my wife had an ancestor that was actually that was killed in that unit. So that's an interesting fact too. What unit are you going to have? Are you going to portray here at the Chickamauga battle?
We're looking, it's a toss-up between the Floridians of the Florida. I want to do the 24th Tennessee, my wife's family, and they're from Western Tennessee.
Okay. So what else have you guys got planned for this year? Because I know that getting into these events, it can be pricey. And getting time off to be able to travel to these events. But what do you guys do outside these events when you guys are not reenacting and you know, going from state to state?
I got 3 kids. I run around with my head cut off.
Okay.
I got a 6-year-old, I got a 3-year-old, and I got almost a 9-month-old.
And how is the Cotton State campaigners? How's it going? And like, you guys got any ways that people can communicate, talk to you guys if they're interested?
They can always email us, personal email, we'll provide that, or they can reach us out on Facebook, and they can also reach us through the YouTube channel Cotton States Campaigners or Facebook group Cotton States Campaigners.
Okay. I'll put their links in the description box as well so you guys can follow them. You can see Graham, you can see Jack and the rest of the guys. I met them in Perryville. We had a lot of fun out there. That was my first time in Perryville. I enjoyed it out there. It was a great event. Do you have any other plans besides Gettysburg and Chickamauga this year, or are you just kind of going with the flow?
Receding Tide, I mean, that one's a private event, which is done by Homespun Adventures on the East Coast. And I'm originally from the East Coast, and so basically what I'm wearing today is all East Coast right now. I was doing a little stuff for back at home, and that's Barksdale's Mississippians, that's Lee's Retreat, going to the Potomac, setting up a defensive line, and basically saving the town of Hagerstown.
Okay. Now I noticed that you were talking to me at one point about going to Andersonville. Are you still planning on doing that, going down there? Have you ever been to the Andersonville reenactment?
I have not. I've been down to the prison when I was a child. My grandfather was a POW through World War II from the Japanese.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go, guys. We had a great time here with Jack and Graham. We created a lot of, I think, memorable memories here leading up to the Chickamauga battle that will be reliving in September. So I look forward to seeing all you guys out there. Come out there and support Cotton State campaigners. I'll put their links in my description box. But with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again soon. All right, you guys, so we are back with my good friends from the Cotton State campaigners. We're going to be walking around Snodden Hill Grass and just kind of talk a little bit more about the battle and getting you guys prepared and ready for the reenactment in September of the Battle of Chickamauga. So Jack, when did you get into reenactment? When did you notice that reenactment was a passion that you wanted to get into?
Well, it started out with a school project in the 2nd grade. I was assigned Robert E. Lee as the school project. I got to dress up as him, had to give a little speech about his life. And then I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, and then we moved down here the following year. And I live over in Franklin, so we got Battle of Franklin stuff all up Columbia Avenue. So I was in a Civil War epicenter in a way. We went to the one reenactment that was in 2011, and it was pretty cool. I didn't get into the hobby until about a year and a half ago when I reached out to the 8th Tennessee. Our captain handed me over to Graham, and it took off from there.
And was Perryville your first reenactment, or was it?
No, it was Stones River in 2021.
Stones River. So
Perryville.
22?
22.
22.
Because Chloe turned on.
Oh yeah.
So it was somewhere in that time frame.
Somewhere around that time frame, yeah.
Are you going to be here for the 160?
I am planning on being here.
And are you going to be joining Graham as well in Gettysburg?
Gettysburg, I do have some family plans since I do have relatives that live up that way. So I might be at one of the days. I'm not going to be present for
the whole weekend.
The whole weekend.
I got you.
But I am planning on participating in Pickett's Charge on Sunday, the 25th. Okay.
Now, when we were doing some photo shoots and some video clips earlier in the woods, you kept mentioning about this area. And just tell the viewers a little bit why this area in particular on the battlefield you wanted to visit out of everywhere else on the battlefield.
So this is the conclusion of the Battle of Chickamauga. So on the final day of the fight, the whole Federal right wing is starting to cave in because of the gap that was created by General Rosecrans trying to fill an imaginary gap. In reality, he created a real gap, and Longstreet launches a full-on assault where that gap was created, and the whole Federal Army begins to melt away. When we get here, this is the last stand of the Union Army, so the rest of the Army can get away. Rosecrans has already left the battlefield. 75% of the U.S. Army is already on the run. Okay. General George Thomas is in charge of the defense here, and his main priority is to hold off the Confederate attack until everybody can get away. And he does such a good job at holding the Confederates off so the Federal forces can retreat back to Chattanooga that he becomes known as the Rock of Chickamauga. Since I'm from the Franklin-Nashville area, a year later, he's the commanding force Union general in Middle Tennessee during Hood's Tennessee campaign of '64.
Now, was the battle ended on this side of the hill, or was it on that side of the hill?
So, when we look at this way, the battle line is coming this way. So we have the Confederates starting to wrap around this way, coming up towards us here. Chattanooga's up that way.
Okay.
So you got the whole Union line kind of stretched out like this, on kind of like they call it Horseshoe Ridge as the final line of defense. and the biggest thing is just holding the waves and waves and waves of Confederates off. So you have Confederates pretty much coming this way.
And one thing about the Horseshoe Ridge, what he was saying,
Here, we'll start walking up here.
is basically you hold like your hand like a C.
Yeah.
He was putting pressure on right and left flank and just trying to pinch. Almost when he was getting close to it, he could not close that gap. And so the Rock of Chickamauga basically came out the skin of his teeth. And by the time the Confederates realized they couldn't break that line, battle was over.
And then it was ended right up here. Is that correct?
When the line pinched, it was like you have two lines and it was just closing and closing. It just could not wrap. All the brigades, they were told in any kind of movement, come around, hit the flank, keep pushing on that flank. You're going to cave. Because that's where the Army was always the weakest in 1860, was always that flank. The center was always, you could shove center to the flank, but if you keep closing that flank, all of a sudden you're going to get guys that are going to get mashed up and they cannot elevate these guns. And when you have an artillery piece of a 12-pound bronze Napoleon firing canister, you also got to realize these guns are recoiling 4 to 5 feet, and so you close these lines off. The cannons are ineffective, the musketry is ineffective, and it comes down to hand. And a lot of people don't realize with this war, an early part of the war was known as a brothers' war. It was respect the fallen man that fell. Respect the man that's wounded. Respect the man that's killed. Give them the proper Christian good burial they deserve. By 1863, 64, 65, going into the fight, that analogy was changing. It was more hand-to-hand going against your guys. And you don't care shoving a cold steel of the bayonet into somebody, shoving a knife into somebody, watching that person die in your eyes and keep moving forward. That part of the war was continuing. And going in 64 to the Petersburg campaign, they dug like rats. Here's a little pop quiz. I don't know if you know this. What British Prime Minister grew up in Virginia playing in Spotsylvania?
I have no idea.
Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Churchill was known for digging. His grandmother was a Virginian. He used to play in the mildew, play in the trenches of Petersburg. That's why every time when Churchill was setting up an offensive, he was digging. Because that's what armies did. They dug. How do you get away from artillery? You dig. How do you get away from musketry? You dig. In Fort Donelson of 1862, the Federal Army under Grant started to realize the Confederates were really digging. So they started bouncing shells off embankments. And instead of exploding in front of the men, they would explode into the trees and let the shrapnel rain. So when you're digging in, you're always going to dig in a line.
Yeah.
But by 1918, you had the offset lines. So basically with an offset line, you can set up blind corners. But in trench lines, like especially here, like at Snodgrass Hill, you're going to have guys, they're trying to dig. I mean, the biggest thing is, if you're going to escape from hell, you're going to dig. You're going to try to get out of it. And this is what it was. It was just sheer hell. And I mean, you have this ravine. And one thing about Brogans now being a Civil War reenactor is when you're running up a hill,
Yeah.
they ain't your modern footwear. Your modern footwear will give you traction. But you had guys you're tripping over, you're falling over, you're stumping over. And so when a guy gets shot, the recoil of the round hitting the body, or the velocity of mass, it's a mathematical equation, you're gonna roll. And when you stop rolling, you become an obstacle. You gotta go over that obstacle. You can't increase that obstacle at an obtuse angle, or almost 45 to be exact.
Yeah.
So when the Federals are being pinched, they started moving the Confederates were massed, and they kept spreading. They're trying to close that gap. And so the weakest became the weakest. The flanks gave in, but the center held. So you can go to an obtuse angle of 15 degrees and cover each angle when you're firing. It's when you have two guys in line, it's a straight vertical line. But when you put them at an oblique angle at 45, you have instant coverage of every obtuse angle on the battlefield.
So, when you guys suit up this September, when you guys come here, I know I spoke to Graham about it, but what unit are you looking at for training? Because I know I've heard you talk about Kershaw.
Kershaw,
South Carolina. That's something that I've heard a little bit about. I haven't heard a ton.
Yeah.
With everybody focusing on Gettysburg, I got something in South Carolina that I'm doing in April. I haven't really heard a ton in terms of units. That's to be decided as of right now, and we'll just see what some of the groups decide what they're going to do and see how the cards play.
Well, we're going to start walking up here to the top of the hill, and up there as well. What I'm going to ask is, you guys are campaigners, correct?
Yes.
So what is the difference between a campaigner and a mainstream?
Well, the difference between a campaigner and the mainstream reenactor is the mindset.
Okay.
Also, you get rations issued, ammo issued. When you get into a good fight, what's going to happen is you're going to have your normal registration could be like $5, $10, whatever dollar. And when you go to the campaigner aspect, is your registration is going to be higher.
Yeah.
For receding tide of Barksdale's Mississippians, and also for Perryville and for Waterloo.
Yeah.
Mostly Perryville and receding tide is Perryville. What was it? $30?
Perryville, I think, is 30. I know one from Waterloo was 30.
Receding tide's 40, but you're also going to realize you don't have to bring rounds. Powder's getting harder to find. Caps are getting harder to find.
So being a campaigner kind of helps you out more than being a mainstream.
Exactly. You'll get into special bully buys. There's one bully buy out for my event in July. Is you can get an unfinished Richmond depot, and you can hand sew it.
Yeah.
And a basic $200-something Richmond depot, you get for $125.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that we've had some time to reflect back on Perryville. Now that it's done and went past for a little while now, how do you think the event turned out as a campaigner? And you kind of go by what soldiers wore during those battles. Did Perryville kind of live up to that to you as a campaigner? You think it turned out well?
For the hype?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perryville, I was telling Jack and a couple other guys who had never been out there, is them damn hills.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't give those hills credit. They really don't.
There were some crazy hills.
And crazy hour picket duty, guard duty, high attention to detail.
Firewood.
Got to find your own.
Yeah.
Work
I would say
detail.
one of the big things that I wasn't expecting was when the night before the first day's worth of fighting, our whole battalion did a big drill thing, and I didn't know we were going to do that, but it was kind of cool seeing the whole group.
Yeah.
Kind of do it. Like, you had your mainstreamers kind of up watching around. They don't do that. But our whole...
And we also marched in as a battalion.
Yep.
We were told meet at this certain location, check in, hurry up and wait. Just like the Army. Hurry up and wait.
That's the biggest thing about me going straight into campaigner when I started officially was I don't have the mainstream aspect. I don't know the whole, like, I've done some stuff with one mainstream unit, it's a lot of just sitting around waiting for the fight to happen, go to Sutlers. But that was only one event.
Yeah.
So I don't have a very good perspective of what a mainstreamer is going through. I know what the campaign is like. Like, we go in, as soon as that event hits, you're working. You're working, or you're on a picket duty looking for someone to shoot.
And one thing is also, and to touch on that campaigner and mainstream persona, is Friday is, hey, I haven't seen you, blah, 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 whatever. Campaigner, it's like, hey, good to see you. It's the same concept. And then suddenly you're going to hear the words, first call. Uh-oh.
Game's on.
Okay, where's the second call? 30 minutes later. Second call, Company A, fall in. Company B, fall in.
Okay, so it's like campaigners really, they don't have breaks in between as much as like a main until like basically Sunday, kind of.
Somewhat. When we march in, they will be like, all right, we're going to take this for an example. Is first platoon of each company, 10 men, gather firewood. First platoon, second platoon, 5 men, make the bedding. What's ever left, get ready for rations. What that means is your rations are going to be issued. Whatever you're going to eat is what they're going to give you. There's no need to go down to Hardee's or somewhere and go get a chicken biscuit.
That's what you're going to be eating.
Because you're going to eat. Friday we had wheat and barley with potatoes and desiccated vegetables with little pieces of beef. And with that was with cornbread.
Yeah.
Saturday morning
we went into the fight, and through the
we did not
bloodbath so we didn't eat until about mid-afternoon.
Yeah, we didn't eat until mid-afternoon. Then it was no, we got pork.
Yeah, that's right. We got the salt pork, and that was before we went into Manny's attack on Loomis Heights.
Yes, and then we were told first call be within 3 hours. Eat, rest, clean your muskets, prepare to move. And when they say prepare to move, so basically is where we're standing on top of Snodgrass Hill. We're looking 3, 4, 5 miles that we got to walk. It's like, oh yeah, the battle's here. Form up at 12 o'clock. The battle's at 2. You'll be sitting there, what was it, 8:15? It was NCO call. Get all this stuff on, report to the commanding officer, says first call is in 15 minutes.
Oh wow.
And you're sitting there going, like he was about to doze off. I was like, dude, stay awake. We got to move. And we did 7 miles on Saturday. Then we did after the fight. The battles are longer. The battles are more intense for us.
That was something like when we did Homespun Waterloo. I'll have little pins that I wear to work, just kind of spark up that conversation, get someone to ask a question like, oh, I don't know about that. And I'll share some of the reenacting stories that I got, especially with what we did at Sharpsburg or Perryville, because it's a different perspective. Like when we did the cornfield fight, like you don't meet that many people who did a cornfield fight at Sharpsburg. And with how we did it, it's like you can actually kind of put the perspective like you're talking to one of the soldiers that were there. Like you go into the cornfield and you can see the red blankets of the 4th Rhode Island.
4th Rhode Island.
Yeah, and they're like, 10, 15 yards away, and we're just going right at it. You have pieces of corn flying through the air. I mean, you knock somebody out with a pumpkin.
My bad.
So,
couple times. And also, we do, and with campaigners, we do take POWs.
oh, okay.
And we will shake them down.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what that was something because we were starting to push them hard, and they were running back down towards the Antietam, and me and like 5 of the guys, we just started rounding up prisoners because the whole thing started to kind of unravel. And you had like 30 guys on our right, they just kept chasing the Federals all the way down to the river, and me and 5 of us were capturing people. And one guy, he's pretending to get shot in the leg, so it's like you're actually putting him up on your shoulder to help him get out of the cornfield.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to walk over here.
And when you shake somebody down, the definition of shakedown is take everything.
Okay.
Because
supplies, and I was
any correspondence on what's happening.
So if
my rations ran out, so the very first thing I was doing was going through everybody looking for food. If you had food, it was mine.
And I went on, and I'm used to these events, and I was fasting.
So I mean, how many events do you guys usually do in a year?
Last year was my first full year of reenacting. I did, I think I did like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. So what do you guys do outside of that? Because I know we all have things that we have go on in our life, you know, wife, children, and work.
Yeah,
what do you guys do to keep yourself busy, keep the mind going, the history alive in your mind, and you know, just try to remind yourself?
We all know what you're gonna say.
This guy keeps me moving. He keeps me moving more than the kids.
I mean, yeah, it's like, it's just learning. You don't really take a day off. It's like, because it's a passion, it's something you love, and
Yeah.
it's like, if it felt like a job, I wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll call him if I have a question. It's like my whole first year, I was looking at building my kit up. I would go onto one of the campaigner sites and like, hey, do you think this is good? And he's like, no, that's garbage, or yeah, go ahead and buy that. All the time, just asking questions, and that's really how it needs to be done. Is if you're a new reenactor, is find a mentor and just bug the living crap out of that dude until he gets annoyed at you and runs you off.
No,
I got a 2-year-old going, wee.
Yeah, but I mean, Graham's taking really good care of me, and it's like I'm the oldest of 2 sons in my family. It's like having an older brother that you always wanted. It's kind of that kind of relationship.
Don't make me cry. Shut up, you.
But right over here is the closing battle.
Yeah, the close of the battle, you had the Federals on top of this hill. I mean, you had Confederates coming all over. Damn, I wish I had a bug in there. So, me as a reenactor and as a campaigner, we try to be 100% to the point.
Yeah. That being said, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to conclude the video. It's starting to rain a little bit here.
He's made out of sugar.
Yeah, I am.
All that sweet tea coming out of your pores.
Hey, you know what? I love sweet tea. We're in the South, so I gotta enjoy something.
I'm allergic to it. I'm a damn Yankee, I guess.
But it was a pleasure.
It's not that bad.
It was a pleasure hanging out with you guys today and working with you guys.
It was a great time.
Stay tuned, everybody, for more content coming soon. I'll be in Florida next weekend at the Battle of Lusty reenactment, so I'm looking forward to documenting that battle as well.
And the warmth.
And the warmth.
On that note, I'm gonna go get me a